Jessica, everything is stocked up for the day.
Good. Unlock the front door. So, what can I do for you?
I need a pregnancy test. And may I use your restroom after I buy the test? I don't want to do this at home. Please.
Sure, no problem.
The results were negative. Thank you, Mrs. Sims.
Why did you think you might be pregnant?
Because my period didn't happen this month. James and I have been using birth control, but I was still worried.
I suggest you take another pregnancy test a few weeks from now. And if that test is also negative and your period still does not come, see a gynecologist.
There is only one gynecologist in this town. And he is a man. I don't feel comfortable with some man poking at my private parts. Unless he is my boyfriend, of course.
I can assure you that Dr. Wyman is a strict professional. I've been seeing him for years and he has never abused his profession with me.
All right. Before I leave, may I have a box of condoms? I love you. What's wrong? That's not the reaction I expected.
There is something we have to talk about. And we need to do it in front of my mother.
You seem terribly afraid. And you asked for your mother. Is this about her?
No, it's about us. About our future. When you told me you wanted to marry me, it really shocked me, and so I asked my mother for advice. Plus, I will be going away to Harvard next year. I want to get a college degree before we tie the knot, Penny, but are you willing to wait 4 years?
Penny, I have advised James that getting a college education and then a well-paying job will put him in an ideal position to be a good husband for you. But you have to decide if that's what you want. Why did you ask James to marry you so soon?
My grandmother got married right out of high school and had her first child, my father, the very next year. I feel like I want to have a baby in a year or two. But only if I am married first. I don't want to get pregnant and be abandoned.
Penny, James will not abandon you. He loves you and he just hopes you will love him just as much by waiting for him to finish his education.
James, you promise that you will marry me after you graduate college?
I promise. We are engaged already. The marriage will be only a formality.
I just worry that some other girl at Harvard will snap you up before you graduate.
Penny, I made a pledge to never cheat on you, one my mother knows about. If I was to dump you for anyone else, I would be breaking a promise I made not just to you, but my mother too.
Penny, you could also go to college. If both you and James get degrees, you can both get high-paying jobs and provide the best life for your children.
But I already know exactly what I want to be. I want to be a cook and a mother, just like my grandmother. I have idolized her since I was a baby. And so I don't need a college degree.
Penny, as long as we both are happy with our choices in life, all is well. I love you!
Debbie is in Dallas for a modeling project. She is now 5 months pregnant.
I'm sorry, but my belly is getting bigger every month, so I can no longer wear any tight pants. That's why I came in this dress.
No problem. Actually, could you remove the dress and wear a bathing suit instead? Your swollen belly would make the pics of you even more attractive.
I thought this was for a men's magazine. Why emphasize my pregnancy, then? Men can't get pregnant. If this was for a magazine about pregnancy or motherhood, your request would make sense.
You've never been a man attracted to pregnant women, have you? Trust me, the readers of this magazine will love your growing figure.
Meanwhile, back at the town, Mayor Ted Anderson was voted out of office in a recall election, and the voters, when given a choice of who should be Anderson's successor, overwhelmingly voted for Sandy Smith to be mayor. She is now in that office, dealing with the problems of the town her predecessor neglected for too long.
Congratulations on your promotion to police chief, Teddy Root.
Thank you! But you may call me Theodore from now on. I have grown to hate the name Teddy and Ted because of certain people that have had it around here. I want my name to be more dignified.
No problem. Now that you are at your rightful place in the police department, you need to go to the police station and meet your new recruits. I have personally chosen them to serve under you.
I'm on my way. It is really good to see you again. Thank you so much for returning.
Hearing that Sandy Smith was now the mayor made me eager to return to this town and help her as much as I can. Theodore.
Officer Kelly, you may not be police chief, but you still have more experience than me, so I will assign you the task of training any new members of our department that join us in the future. And a new trainee is outside. Go see her.
Carrie Sims, you are a cop now? Yes. I've always had a deeply personal passion for protecting the innocent and the weak from bullies and perverts. Now that is officially my job. And I was so happy to be told we'd be working together. This town will be made normal soon enough, I hope. It seems you, I, and the new police chief are the only cops left after Mrs. Smith purged all the others. We will have a lot to do around this town. Look at this mess. Mayor Anderson not only cut sales taxes drastically, he poured most of the money the town made into its police department and neglected everything else. And the town is over $100 million in debt. I will have to focus on paying down that debt before I even fix the other problems with the town.
But Mrs. Smith, the people of the town need their problems fixed as soon as possible. That is what you were elected to do. If you don't deal with our water supply and the roads, the people will lose faith in you.
Such a dilemma. I don't want to risk a backlash by raising taxes too high. That's exactly what Mayor Anderson said I would do.
President FDR would give messages directly to the people, often using what he called fireside chats, which were broadcast via radio. Today, you have the internet, including video sharing sites like YouTube. Take advantage of them. And so Mayor Smith uses her town's official YouTube account to make a message.
As mayor, I am facing some tough choices that will affect the lives of thousands around here, and so I want input from the people. So I will have a local ballot initiative. Voters will be asked what is more important, paying down the town's public debt or increasing spending to fund projects to reform the town. Happy birthday, my beautiful love partner. Oh, that huge cake you had made for me is so beautiful. I almost hate us having to eat it.
Well, I'm sure between the 9 of us, we can eat it all up soon enough. Paul can't wait to taste it himself.
9 of us? Not counting your boyfriend, there are only 5 of us in this household. And Debbie is not even here today. So that means we have only 4. So who else is coming? Oops, I forgot to mention that your brother and his family are coming here to see us. Surprise. I invited them and even offered to pay them for coming. I mean, this is your twin's birthday too, you know. You arranged that too? Lucy, you are the best wife ever. I'll get that. It must be Jonathan and his family.
But when Jessica opens the front door...
Excuse me, I don't think we have met before. Who are you?
My name is Daniel Gordon. I am looking for my daughter. I went to the restaurant she owns and I was told by the waitress on duty she lives here.
What? Father, you are alive.
You thought I was dead, Lucy? I am so sorry. I did leave you and your mother suddenly because I could no longer believe the lies of the watchtower. But when I tried to convince my wife to follow me out, she refused and said she would have me disfellowshipped. So I left the next morning. I tried to become a coal miner in Kentucky, but that industry collapsed, so I have been struggling to make a living in Nashville, Tennessee for many years. Then I saw a news report about you and your restaurant. I learned you have a wife, 2 daughters and a daughter-in-law, so I knew you had also left the Jehovah's Witnesses. I was overjoyed that you have made the same move I did, and so I wanted to reconnect with you.
I never thought I'd see this day. Mother said you were dead to her, and since I was only 8 years old I took that literally. But she never held a funeral for you, and I couldn't understand why.
I assumed you and Victoria would remain loyal to the cult and thus had rejected me too.
No. I went through hell when I came out as a lesbian, and my mother and sister threw me out of the house and called me a pervert. I spent a year being all alone before I met Jessica, and she saved me. Without her, I'd almost certainly be dead now.
Then it seems I owe you an incalculable debt, Jessica. Now that I have seen my daughter again, I am happy.
Excuse me. Welcome, Jonathan, Tara, and Helen. Thanks for coming to our party.
No problem. And who is this old man?
He is my father.
What? But you told me your father was dead.
Well, this is awkward as hell. Lucy, go take a walk with your father. I will stay here with Jonathan and the others.
Lucy Sims takes a walk with her father, Daniel Gordon, to catch up together on events in their lives.
You should know that Mother died about 7 years ago of cancer. I tried to see her, but she refused to meet with me or even see her granddaughter, Carrie.
Carrie? Is that the girl I just saw in the living room? She's beautiful.
No, that's Vicky. Carrie is 20, Vicky is 14. So you have 2 granddaughters. And you are also about to have a great-grandson.
Carrie is pregnant?
No, her wife Debbie is.
So the child is not related to us by blood?
To me, that doesn't matter. We think family is defined by love. Speaking of which, Victoria is still a witness. She lives in Los Angeles with her husband and her son Scott. We do not get along.
I just don't understand why people keep clinging to cults like that. I'm just glad I still have some members of my family I can be loved by.
Well, this is not exactly how I was expecting to spend our 43rd birthday.
Do you trust him, Lucy's father? It seems strange that he would walk out on his family, let his daughters think he is dead, then suddenly come back and want their love again.
Well, I was rejected by my own family for refusing to remain Catholic, so maybe Lucy's father was rejected for not remaining a witness. I mean, that happened to Lucy herself some years later. I am so thankful that I am not being raised in a cult, and that I have a boyfriend like Paul who loves me just as I am. You two do make a cute couple. So how did you two meet? At church. Mother Jessica, I just finished my first day as a cop. I had a great time training under Kelly Grimm. And happy birthday to both you and Uncle Jonathan.
So you are a cop now? I always knew you were incredibly strong and courageous, so that fits you.
Carrie, did you see Lucy out there? Yes, I saw her walking with an old man. A new neighbor of ours, perhaps. No, he is her father. And thus your grandfather. What? You mean he somehow came back from the dead?
So you are my first granddaughter? I'm guessing that Jessica was the one who gave birth to you and Lucy gave birth to Vicky?
That's only half right. I was born into this family, but Vicky was adopted. Genetically, Vicky and I are completely unrelated, but in our hearts, we are sisters.
And what about your wife, who is having your first child? What does she look like?
What's wrong?
Well, neither of you are black, so I assume the child will also be white?
No. Debbie and I made sure we'd use a black sperm donor to get Debbie pregnant. We planned from the start for our baby to be biracial. But you know what? It really shouldn't matter if the child is completely white. He will still be family, just as I am.
Jessica and Lucy are both my mothers. And I love them both equally.
And that's also true of me, Mr. Gordon. Jessica and Lucy are both my mothers too. Carrie is my sister. I am proud to be a member of the Sims family, they mean the world to me.
I guess this will take some getting used to, but I can tell you are all good and lovely people. Much better than my wife and her Jehovah's Witness friends and relatives were. I only regret not taking custody of you and Victoria when I left. Maybe both of you would be out of that damned cult. Your mother and I never should have raised you in it.
Father, all we can do now is move forward and try to make the best of the time together we have left. In any case, I forgive you. Vicky said you wanted to speak to me privately. Yes. Thanks for closing the door behind you. I am going to take a shower anyway, but I just didn't want your father to overhear us. This is about him. I got the impression from him that he, like others among your relatives, are bigoted against white people like me and Debbie. He seemed disappointed in Debbie being white. And I still remember when I first met Scott and I called him my cousin and he said I wasn't his cousin at all. That hurt me. It's a natural reaction. Just don't take it personally. Your grandfather just needs to get used to us. At my wedding to Jessica, I was surrounded by white people and I was the only black person there. I was so tempted to run away in fear. But when I looked into Jessica's eyes, I saw only the most beautiful love I had ever experienced. And my fear faded away. I felt more human with her than I did with my blood relatives after I came out as lesbian.
So how should I address you? As grandfather? As Mr. Gordon? Or something else?
Thank you for asking. And I really don't care how I am addressed as long as I am treated with respect.
Were you raised a Jehovah's Witness? I was raised Catholic. And like Lucy, I was rejected by my family when I said I didn't believe in the Catholic teachings.
No. Like many others, I was converted as a youth by these traveling teachers going door to door to spread their cult. My mother became a witness, and I eagerly followed her. But as an adult, I figured out that the teachings were lies. The cult leaders predicted Christ would return in 1914. He didn't. Then they said the Battle of Armageddon would happen in 1975. That was also false. Moses said when a prophet speaks in God's name and the prophecy does not come true, then God was not speaking through that prophet. Based on that, I left the cult. Instead, I became Jewish. I go to a synagogue in Nashville for worship every Saturday.
So you believe in the Jewish God? Most of us don't. Mother Lucy said after she left the cult she went all the way to atheism because no religion seemed to fit her. Until she finally found Unitarian Universalism. Most of us are now UUs. I myself am studying to be a UU minister.
So you are an atheist who wants to be a minister? How can that make sense?
I want to help people, regardless of their beliefs, or lack thereof. You don't need to believe in a God to love your fellow human beings.
And I became a UU because of Vicky and her family. They are incredibly beautiful people and I love them all. Before I met Vicky, I felt like I couldn't relate to anyone. But she showed me what love can do to a fearful and broken heart. She made me a better person.
I understand. The Jewish community I joined also made me a better person than being a witness did.
We can cut your birthday cake into 10 pieces, one for each person that is here, plus Debbie, in case she returns soon and wants a piece. You should ask your father if he wants a piece first. He may not like yellow cake. Okay.
Did I mention that Helen is allergic to cats? Tara would come home from working at the cat shelter and Helen would start sneezing up a storm when Tara would pick her up afterwards. We were so disappointed by that discovery. But finally, for our daughter's health, we sold the cat shelter. I just hope the new owner is as dedicated to the welfare of cats as our mother was.
So what are you doing now?
For now, Tara is a housewife. I make plenty of money as a banker, so I won't push her to get a job anytime soon. Her focus is totally on Helen. She is a great mother. Meanwhile, Kyrie left her cell phone in the Sims living room. It rings and Vicky answers it.
Hello, Vicky Sims here.
This is Debbie. I was wanting to talk with Carrie. Is she around?
Not at the moment. She went to the bathroom to take a shower. Should I give her a message?
No. But I am coming home soon and I want to talk to Carrie about something.
Oh, would you like a piece of Jessica and Jonathan's birthday cake?
Sure. That would be a welcome treat after what I've been through.
It is late in the evening when Debbie arrives at the Sims house. By this time, the other guests have gone for the night.
Wow. What a crazy day you and Mother Lucy had. I wonder how I would react if my father came back from the dead. Well, I already had my experiences with Dr. Martin Leslie and Grandmother Elizabeth, and those were shocking enough, but I got used to them. Plus, you did get a father of a sort in Steve Mueller. Anyway, you wanted to talk with me about something? I'm thinking of quitting the modeling business. Today, I spent all morning with this creep who was more interested in my belly than any other part of my body. That's all he seemed to care about once I told him I was pregnant. I want people to appreciate all my parts, not just one or two. I don't want to feel like a piece of meat. So what do you want to do instead? You have never really thought about doing anything else besides acting or modeling. I know. I always thought I could just market my good looks and make us a fortune. But there seems to be a cost to that I had not considered before. And honestly, you are the only one who I need to tell me I am beautiful. Those sexist readers of magazines can shove it. They are nothing compared to you. Unless you say otherwise, I'm going to rip that dress right off you. No problem. Go for it. Good morning, Laura. Is now a good time for us to talk?
Sure, what's going on?
Well, you and I are both in the entertainment industry, me as a fashion model and you as an actress and musician. Do you ever feel like you have to sell yourself out to get ahead?
No, because my mother and I fight constantly against that sort of thing. That sucks. I'm always hearing about models being driven to lose so much weight that they end up anorexic. But this seems to be the opposite, though just as degrading. Oh. One moment. You want to talk to her? Okay. Hey, Debbie. I was listening to Laura's side of the conversation. Can you give me the rest of the details? This reminds me of when I was making my first music video with my family and the video's director tried to make me wear a sexy bikini. My mother put a stop to that nonsense. But I was 15 then. We are both adults now. We don't need to have our mothers bail us out. So why did you become a model?
I liked the idea of looking glamorous and getting paid well for just being photographed. What I don't like is feeling less than human about it.
Then you just need to take control of the situation. Only work with photographers who take pics according to your standards. Don't let anyone else define your worth. You know what you are. That photographer in Dallas acted like he was your boss. That's wrong. You need to be the boss of your modeling career from now on. Then you will be happy. As the one people see, you deserve only the best, right?
Thanks. I can see why Laura likes you so much. I feel better already.
Then my work is done. The rest is up to you.
As Debbie considers what to do about her modeling career, Lucy deals with a problem of her own at the Tuscany Tavern.
You wanted to talk to me before the restaurant opens.
Yes, I do. Yesterday, an old black man came to the restaurant. Did you give him my home address?
Yes. He said he was your father and he was looking for you.
And you did that without consulting me? Without even giving me a heads up that he would later be coming over? Do you have any idea how inappropriate that was?
I'm sorry. Was he not your father?
Oh, he was. And I was happy to see him again. But that is not my point. His sudden presence at my home disrupted the party we were having for Jessica and Jonathan's birthday. And for all you really knew, he could have been a right-wing fanatic seeking to harm me and others in my family over what happened here 2 months ago. Damn it, Bella, you have got to be more careful. For the most part you are a good worker, but occasionally you seem to lack common sense. Remember when you goofed up that order of a pizza for that actress Vicky Jones, mixing up her order with that of my daughter? That was your first critical mistake this year. Your having my father come to my home instead of alerting me so I could come and meet him here was your second. When Sandy, Jessica, and I co-founded this restaurant 6 years ago, Sandy made a 3 strikes and you're out policy, which I decided to continue. That means if you fail me one more time before the end of this year,
I will be fired.
That's right. In fact, I am so upset with you now that I am relieving you of your waitress and management duties today and you will receive no pay today at all. Now, go home.
I feel like Admiral Ozzel before the Battle of Hoth started. Wow, that was painful to watch, Mrs. Sims.
I hated having to do that, but sometimes when you are in a position of leadership, you have to discipline your subordinates for the good of the group, to keep things safe and orderly. Honestly, if you had not backed down from the competition with Bella, I would have made you the assistant manager. You seem to be way more competent than her, despite being younger.
Lucy, did you actually fire Bella today? I just saw her leaving the restaurant and she was crying her eyes out.
Debbie has composed the document and brings it to the modeling agency in Dallas to show her fellow models there.
So you want us all to sign this petition for reforming our modeling agency?
Yes, I do. Either we change it or we leave it and form our own, one for women and by women. This agency consists of about 80% female models, but its CEO is and always has been a man. Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't. So I will sign this and I will help you get more signatures.
Debbie has gotten 23 models, all women, to sign her petition demanding reforms in how her modeling agency is run. Then she presents the petition to the agency's CEO.
Mrs. Smith, these terms are unacceptable. While most of the models here may be female, most of the companies and media outlets we deal with are run by men. As our customers, their interests matter. If we reject them, we make far less money.
I'd rather make far less money than be treated like a slab of meat to merely be stared at by lustful men.
Then I will grant you your wish. Debbie Smith, you are fired.
Well, if she is fired, then I quit and I will urge all the other models who signed the petition to quit too. Then see how much business you have with more than half of your models gone.
And by the end of the day, 17 out of the 23 models that signed the petition have walked out. They later gather at a club to discuss options.
Okay, fearless leader. What shall we do?
I know nothing about how to run a modeling agency. But I know someone who is highly experienced in running businesses. Let me ask him for help.
And so the next day. My name is Steve Miller, I live in Tulsa, and I am looking to get into the modeling business. I'd like to make you an offer for this agency, to add it to my other businesses I run.
What's your offer?
$50 million.
How about $120 million?
$80 million.
$100 million.
$90 million.
All right, you have a deal.
Steve then meets with Debbie and Claudette to discuss what to do next. Now that I own this agency, I will rehire you and the other models. I will then appoint one of you to manage the agency on a day-to-day basis, while I indirectly supervise from Tulsa.
Claudette, since you live in the Dallas area, I think you should run things for me and Steve. We need to hire female photographers and seek out female-run businesses and media outlets to work with.
I agree. Let's see what we all can do.
Jessica, I have a question. If you could, would you marry me again? Absolutely. We have been together for over 20 years. And I would love to spend another 20 years with you. No one else has ever made me half as happy as you have. You are my everything. When we got married, none of my relatives attended the wedding. Now that my father has returned to my life, I want him to see what you really mean to me. Let's invite him and others to attend a second wedding for us. Our 23rd wedding anniversary is coming up this Sunday. Let's ask Reverend Denton to preside over a ceremony for us.
And so the Sims couple begin making phone calls.
Yes, that is a lovely idea. We can have a ceremony in our church Sunday afternoon. Let us work out the details. Of course I will come. Good. And because I and Lucy are lesbians, we have decided to have you be the best woman there. Vicky will be our maid of honor. Thank you. I love how you can think outside the box. Oh, would Steve be welcome to attend as well? Sure. Penny, I will need you and the other cooks to make about a dozen pizzas for the wedding reception.
Okay. And I have an idea. Let us make all the pizzas with no toppings and have the various toppings separate so that people can make their own kinds of pizzas according to their preferences.
What a brilliant idea. It might make the servings of the pizzas more complicated, but the idea of granting freedom of choice to everyone is appealing. Work out the details for us.
So will you be going on a honeymoon?
You know, I hadn't even thought of that. What do you suggest?
Just think of a place you and Mother Lucy can go to and be alone together. The most romantic place you can think of. But not too expensive.
I've got it. We can go to Galveston.
Debbie and Steve are still in Dallas helping with a reformed modeling agency when they get the news of what the Sims couple are planning. Debbie, it just occurred to me that even though this is a modeling agency, we could also send one of our photographers to take pictures at the Sims wedding.
I agree. We just need to choose a photographer for the job.
Before I got into modeling, I did photography as a hobby. I'd love to be a photographer professionally, so I'll go with you to the wedding.
The day of the ceremony quickly arrives, and Sunday morning the Unitarian Universalist Church of the town is packed with hundreds of people, some of whom are there for the Sims wedding, which is scheduled for the following afternoon.
Welcome, everyone, to our Unitarian Universalist Church. I am the Reverend Emily Denton. Today's sermon is titled, This is Our Home, but Not Just Ours, and it was written by Laura Bogle. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours. This land we live on, this water we drink, this air we breathe, these old mountains that hold us steady to our ground, these forests that give us their healing green, these flowers that give us their beauty and fragrance, these fields that give us our daily bread, these stars that show us our place. The wilderness and the tame backyards, all of it our home. We remember the ancestors who have lived on this land, and who have shaped it. The Native American tribes, the settlers, the mountaineers, the farmers, the hunters, the immigrants, the artists, the families, the explorers, the business people, the engineers, the builders, the scientists, the teachers, the workers, the leaders. We inherit their choices. We honor the animals and creatures that have made their home in this land, the ones here now, and the ones that used to be here. We envision the future generations who will live on this land, and let their voices fill our hearts. We gather here to remember this is our home, but not just ours.
So is this a typical Unitarian Universalist sermon?
More or less. I really don't think you can call anything about UAism typical. We are free thinkers by nature.
It's certainly nothing like the Jewish services I attend.
I wish I'd thought to have that sermon recorded. It would be of good use at one of our pagan-based services.
I'm sure we can find it on the internet somewhere. What was the author's name again? And a couple of hours later, outside and behind the church.
Welcome all of you to this gathering, to celebrate the rededication of Jessica Sims and Lucy Sims to each other and to their other loved ones, many of whom are here. Jessica and Lucy, you have written special statements you wish to read to each other. So you two may begin.
Lucy, when you and I first met, I was still recovering from my last relationship. The very one I thought loved me and wanted to share her life with me. Hurt me repeatedly and I felt broken because of her. I didn't know who to trust outside my family, even though that family did love me so much. But then I met you and realized you were worse off than me, because you no longer even had a family to love you and you had never felt the love of anyone else. So I made it my mission in life to love you. And in doing so I found happiness for myself with you. You gave my life meaning just by existing. Thank you.
I was so wrong to leave Lucy. I should have been there for her.
You are here for her now, and that's what matters. Grandfather.
Jessica, I will always be grateful that it was you I got that order at the restaurant messed up, causing me to be fired. Any lesser person would have just let me go, but you went after me and made my life worth living. You brought me to a far more loving family than the one I'd been cast out of, and then together we became the mothers of 2 beautiful daughters. Instead of my life being almost over, you made me happy to keep living so we can do so much good together. I love you. Forever. And the love my mothers have for each other inspired me to be just as loving for you, Debbie, even in times we were not even a couple, but just friends. For friendship is the true foundation of all the best love partnerships. You are right. Carrie, you are the best thing in my life and always will be. I will never abandon you, no matter what. And our son will learn from us just you learned from your mothers. Jessica and Lucy Sims, I now declare you once more as partners in marriage. You may now kiss.
Oh, that was so beautiful. I'm glad I came here. These pics I have taken will be a huge hit for the agency.
Later, inside the church. The reason I was so eager to buy out that modeling agency in Dallas was because I learned last month that Diana Kelly bought up a modeling agency of her own in Oklahoma City. So now she and I will be in direct competition.
And knowing what a narcissist she is, I would expect her to treat her models like property.
Exactly. Debbie will set the rules for my modeling agency, and I am sure once word gets out about what we're about, models will flock to us.
Models, like everyone else, should be treated according to the first principle of Unitarian Universalism, the inherent worth and dignity of every person.
Thank you, Lucy, for everything. I must leave you now and return to my fellow Jews in Nashville, but I will certainly tell them about the UUs. And that my beautiful daughter and granddaughters are among them.
Goodbye. Feel free to return anytime, Father. Soon Jessica and I will be going to our honeymoon. But I have to do something first. Hello, Bella. How are things going at the restaurant?
Quite smoothly, actually. Nothing bad to report, at least. Was the wedding good?
Yes, it was just as wonderful as I hoped it would be. But I just wanted you to know that I changed my mind about your employment status at the restaurant.
What do you mean? Ever since that morning you reprimanded me, I've been so worried about losing my job soon.
Well, worry no more. I've decided to discard the 3 strikes and you're out rule. The 2 mistakes you made didn't cause either the restaurant or myself personally any harm, so I will forgive you and wipe your record clean. When I was a young waitress in Boston, I made mistakes too and got fired over them. I needed to be reminded of what being fearful of losing your job felt like. I'm sorry I gave you such a hard time.
Well, you were right to reprimand me, but thank you for being merciful. Enjoy your honeymoon, Lucy.
Feel better now?
Yes. I'm sure Bella will be a much better employee for you now.